Guys, welcome back to the show. Excited to have you here. I will just tell you this. I'm not gonna, and then we'll move on. I have a new obsession in life, and being a bourbon guy, I started researching flasks because I wanted a flask for my bourbon. It's just one of those things. I like classic things. I found these flasks from Jacob Bromwell that are like my new obsession in life. I will have one here at some point in the hopefully coming months to show you. They're ridiculously expensive for a flask, but my God, it's one of the just classiest, sexiest things I've ever seen. So that's your bourbon tip for the day, is on flasks. I do not have one here to show you, but hopefully soon I will. Now, today's video is on kind of a continuation of a conversation that we've had a couple times, which is on expectations for the first-time home buyer, because this is an important conversation. And any first-timer, you need to have very realistic expectations about what you're going to get. And part of those expectations need to be based on what region of the country that you're in. Because, hey, look, if you make whatever, $70,000 a year, and your home budget is $400,000, well, $400,000 in Los Angeles in like, I mean, I don't know. Can you get something? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't even know if we're going to be able to get you something, but I know it's not going to be a nice something. $400,000 in Mississippi in the swamps, you'd be living pretty damn good, right? So it's all relative. Your budget is going to get you very different things. Therefore, your expectations need to be very different based upon where you live. So please keep that in mind if you're hearing this and this conversation is relevant to you. Now, I'm going to kind of use a little bit of a real-time client of ours right now. But so yeah, let's get into it. So your job as a first-time buyer is to get something. And as I like to say, anything will do, with a caveat, because you do have to have some level of standards. But your job is to go in very reasonable, understanding that as a first-time buyer, unless you're just like balling and you really are like a very successful person, and you do have like a third or fourth time home buyer budget on your first home, in which case we can start to change your expectations. But beyond that, hey, your job first time, get in the game, right? Just get in the game, get in the home buying game, right? Where you're paying down a mortgage while the equity in the home is increasing, right? And you just have this, like, this very good thing that's happening in your life, right? It's an investment account. It's just in the form of you happen to live in it. So, and if you don't like, and keep in mind, right? If you don't like what you can get for your first time home buyer budget, you can keep renting, AKA pissing away your money. So you can probably understand where I'm at on that. I would not recommend that. Owning something that's not even great is better than renting something that's a lot better than the thing that you own. You get what I'm saying here? So you do have to maintain some level of standards though, right? So I'm going to give you a little bit of a real-time example for some clients of ours down in San Diego, and I won't call them out by name, but if they happen to see this, they know who they are. And so they got under contract, right? We have a agent who we work with that's down in San Diego. She's great. She's the polar opposite from me. She's very nice and sweet, and she's a she, and she got them under contract on a place. First time buyers, right? And the inspection came back, and the most nerve-wracking day of any home buying process is inspection day. That's the day where I'm a little edgy, right? I'll look calm while we're doing the inspection, but I'm a little edgy on inspection day. Okay, so the reality is, hey, first-time home buyer, especially in a place like San Diego where it is very expensive, there was a decent amount of, well, to my understanding, I haven't seen the house, right, but a pretty good amount of like just cosmetic stuff that popped up. And I thought, yeah, I mean, you're a first-time buyer, like, in San Diego, right? Young couple, like cool couple in San Diego. And there's a bunch of cosmetic stuff that needs to be, not, maybe not need, but, stuff that you would want to sort of just upgrade and, bring up to date and make it a little bit more modern. That's fine. I don't have an issue with any of that, because that's not problems, right? That's not problems with the house. That's just stuff where you go, yeah, it's just an old house being an old house. Like, it just hadn't been remodeled since 97 or whatever. So that's up to you to decide if you want to do those things. But typically I recommend, well, you knew what the house looked like when you made the offer. So what's changed now? Nothing. What, the inspector told you there's old as shit cabinets in here? Yeah, what? Yeah, you knew that going in, right? So there's nothing to be alarmed about there, but you do have to maintain some standards if the house starts having actual issues. So in this particular case, one of the things the inspector found is there had been a leak, and that leak had trickled in between the walls into some of the insulation. And so that leaves sort of this wild card unknown of, well, is there mold in there? And so, of course, they're looking into that to see if there is actually mold in there. But let's just say that there is. Now, that's a scenario where, as a first-time buyer, I would recommend that you start to you start to grow a pair, and you start to say, well, hey, look, there was all this stuff that we saw was, an issue, right? Whatever, old carpet, paint that's beat to shit, whatever. But we start talking about leaks and mold and drywall that needs replacing, things like that. Well, those are actual problems, and that's kind of where my line gets drawn between what we're willing to take on because we saw it and what we're not willing to take on because it's an actual issue with the house that you should have had that taken care of. So there's this delicate balance, right? Because in a very busy seller's market, you have to be careful in terms of what you ask for on repairs. And we all sort of battle this, where you do an inspection on a home, and the home's whatever, 20, 30, 40, 50 years old, 100 years old, which, hey, just know what you're getting into at that point. And if legitimate issues start to pop up, I think it's completely fair game to start to ask for some of these things to be repaired. You don't want to get greedy, right? Pick and choose your battles. If there's a laundry list of like your average inspection, when we actually get the inspection report back, it's usually like 40 pages or so. And I know that sounds like almost impossible. Like, how can an inspection report be 40, 50 pages? Very easily, because most of those 40 or 50 pages, I look at it and I'm like, yeah, whatever, it doesn't matter. Okay, cool. A piece of this, a screw fell out of the siding, and the inspector saying you should have a screw put in the siding so that it's secure. Okay, like, I mean, it's stuff that doesn't matter. It's stuff that, frankly, I tell people all the time, like, once you move into the house, 2 weeks from the time that you move in, you're never going to think of 95% of the things that are on that inspection report because they don't matter. Like, it doesn't. Frankly, it doesn't matter. But pick and choose your battles. Something like a leak with potential mold. Hey, there is a time when you have to say, hey, look, we get it, it's a seller's market, but we're also just not going to bend over and take it. Like, we're still going to have a pair. Like, we're still going to, have some standards. We're going to stand up for ourselves on things that we think are right. I don't even know how this scenario in San Diego is playing out. So I'm still kind of just waiting to hear, did it work out on the negotiation, or where are we at on that? Unfortunately, a lot of sellers right now, it's such a good seller's market that they are getting a bit greedy. And if someone asks for any sort of repairs or credit towards closing costs so that they can just save some cash and they'll do the repairs on their own, some sellers are getting they're just getting pretty stupid, and they're just forgetting about a thing called karma. So anyway, that's that, guys. I don't know that there's a real moral to the story here other than understand, first-time buyer, you are not going to get the dream palace that you dreamed of when you were a little girl, right? Or little boy. Do little boys dream of their future home one day? I don't know. I didn't, but that's just me. It's not going to be everything you ever hoped for. It's going to be your first home. But accept that there's going to be some things that you're probably going to have to deal with, but also have a line where you maintain some self-dignity in that process so you don't just get screwed over, right? So, hey, that's kind of the moral of the story, the lesson of the day. If you guys ever need real estate help, if you're in San Diego, for example, Jeannie, great agent down there. She's just fantastic. I love her because she's totally different than everyone else that we work with. She's just sweet military mom. So we have agents in a lot of different cities, and that's largely how we work. Hey, if you're in Utah, you're dealing with us personally. If you're in some of the other states that we work in, obviously you're working with our partners in those states. So anyway, let us know if we can be of help to you. Get down in the comments, stir up some shit. I don't know, talk some shit to me. Feel free to do whatever you want. If you ever need inspiration, go to the 1911 Syndicate page and you can see some of the moronic stuff that happens in the comments there. Anyway, everyone, have a good rest of the week. We'll see you soon. Take care.